You're live.
Good morning, everyone. We are 9 a.m. on the dot, so I will call us to order for this Board of Directors meeting for Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley. If you'll please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And not necessarily determination of quorum, but we'll just go down and do our good mornings. Ex officio member Bencomo?
Present.
And Mary Lou, are you an ex officio also? Ex officio board member Ward?
Present.
Board member Campbell?
Present.
Board member Gates?
Here.
And a welcome to our new board member, our new community member for City of Las Cruces, board member Guli?
Here. Hi.
Board member Peck,
Good morning, Madam Chair
and
President.
solely representing the county today, so thank you.
No. There's other people in the county there, but
True. Yeah, no, that's right. Councillor Quarren?
Here.
And I am your chair for the morning, Councillor Becky Graham. This time, I'll call for a motion to accept our agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Think you so much. Moved by Councillor Quarren, seconded by Board Member Campbell. And I think we're good for voting without our ex officios. So, Board Member Campbell?
Yes.
Board Member Gates?
Yes.
Board Member Guley?
Yes.
Board Member Peck?
yes.
Councillor Quarren?
Yes.
And I, Chair Graham, vote yes. Minutes for approval. Looks like we have a couple. Hopefully we took a look at those in the packet ahead of time. So at this time, I'd call for a motion to approve our minutes.
I think. Can we approve them? Move to approve them both at the same time, or do I have to do one and then another? Do you think?
I say we move to approve them both.
Okay, I do that unless someone protests. I move to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and vote on that. Board Member Campbell?
Yes.
Board Member Gates?
Yes.
Board Member Guley? Board Member Peck?
Yes.
Councillor Quarren?
Yes.
And I, Chair Graham, vote yes. So moving right into our reports and presentations, beginning with 5.1, we have great guests this morning from Action Programs for Animals, APA, which I always still think of as the American Psychological Association because that's my undergrad degree. But this is more fun.
Good morning, everybody. I'm an underachiever today, and I did not get a presentation done in time, so I'm just going to speak. I'm going to give you an update about APA. So APA, we're Action Programs for Animals. We're a nonprofit animal welfare in Las Cruces, and we primarily run an adoption center where we house and care for up to 100 animals at a time, cats, kittens, and dogs. And we also, in 2020, we also opened a second chance thrift store to help us with funding. Just briefly on statistics, since 2012, we have rescued more than 6,500 animals in Las Cruces, in Doña Ana County. We are very specific to only Doña Ana County, and we are very much invested in our partnership with the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley. So from the beginning, we have pulled the majority of our animals from there. And even today, even though the percentage is a little lower of what we get from the Animal Services Center, we do, when we have room, still go there first. So we pull cats and kittens whenever we have space from the Animal Services Center. We also divert kittens from the Animal Services Center by taking them in directly and them not having to go into the shelter to begin with. We can work in community kittens, we call them. And we also go pull small dogs when we have space, and primarily one of our other bigger programs is the PAWS Prisoners and Animals Working Toward Success prison training program that we run in partnership with the Southern New Mexico Correctional Facility. We run about 50 dogs through there, and I would say 95% of those dogs come from the Animal Services Center. We go in and particularly assess and pull the longest term dogs, usually not the most popular types of dogs. We do a lot of pit bulls, we do a lot of bully mixes. And so last year, we rescued 299 animals, 81 dogs, 64% from the ASCMV, 218 cats, 58% from the ASCMV. Another partnership we recently started is with Cruces Cool Cats. So we work very closely with them on getting also kittens keeping them off the streets and out of the shelter. And they also help us with very shy adult cats that are not well suited for adoption, and we kind of trade out. So they'll bring us friendly cats, and we give them a more shy cat that's better for their sanctuary, or just needs more time to come around than they have, the opportunity and time to come around. So sometimes we'll even take those back. First quarter of this year, we've taken in 22 dogs, 14 from the ASCMV, 43 cats, 35 from the ASCMV and Cruces Cool Cats. So now we kind of have that other partnership. Other partnerships we have and how we get cats moved out is to move them out of the area. So in recent years, we've been sending kittens and cats to Animal Humane and Bernalillo Animal Care in Albuquerque. And they actually need and want cats. They're constantly asking for them, which is ironic, but it's great to have that resource now. We had wanted that for years, and now we actually have it. So we can send many cats and kittens over there now, especially kittens. One of our other programs is the Pet Food Bank. So we've been running the Pet Food Bank since we founded in 2009. We help approximately 500 families a year. We run it twice a month. We give out about 50,000 pounds of cat and dog food, supplies, but also what this program does, it's also an education program. It's an opportunity. We sit down with each family and we look at their situation and we advise them, because many of them have 5 or more animals. Many of them are not yet altered, so we work with them on who to alter first. Unfortunately, it's still the case that we have much more demand for spay and neuter here than we have resources. And I'm talking not just low cost, that's another thing, but just veterinarians. We ourselves have to drive our kittens to TRC to get spayed and neutered at a decent rate and in a larger quantity. So here you can't get 10 kittens anywhere fixed at one time. We have to drive all the way over there for that. So it's still an issue, but we're dealing with it. So the Pet Food Bank responsibility is written into it, being responsible caregivers if they're going to use the program long term. So it's a way for us to help educate people at the same time, besides just giving them things. At our adoption center, we purchased that building in 2020 with a large bequest. We're at 537 North Solano. I now run the adoption center. I'm also the executive director. We used to have a manager that had to leave last year. So I've taken back over and running the adoption center too. We're supported by 8 part-time staff and many volunteers. The staff are mainly caregivers. They clean, they caregive. We have 3 shifts a day because we have a building full of animals. And we have trainers in-house too. We have an in-house PAWS team. So when the dogs graduate from the prison and come back to us, we're still working with them in-house. And then our PAWS team also does a lot of outreach in the community. They go to schools, they go to classes at NMSU to speak and show the dogs. They go do staff enrichment at hospitals. And so we do different things with the dogs. We take them out for adoption events to get them more out in the public. So we also have started giving former inmate handlers a chance at employment when they are released from prison. So right now we have one of our employees in the PAWS program who's a really good trainer. He's been with us for almost a year. He's been working for us. We have other volunteers that do things like, we have one volunteer that takes dogs to visit people at haciendas at Grace Village. So we're always looking for more volunteers and opportunities to do those kinds of things and get animals to people and to offer enrichment and information. I think that's all I have. Honestly, every community has an organization like ours, but we're struggling in Las Cruces. So in Doña Ana County, and we're not the only nonprofit struggling, we're struggling ourselves to survive. So right now we're going through a hard time. I'm gonna be honest. We're trying our hardest not to have to close our doors, but there's kind of weird, I don't know what to call it, but in Las Cruces and Doña Ana County, there's this belief that all animal welfare groups are supposed to be all volunteer, and it's just impossible when you run an adoption center like ours. El Paso Humane Society is not all volunteer. Animal Humane in Albuquerque is not all volunteer. So I don't know, there's that kind of idea that we're supposed to be all volunteer for some reason. But we do actually take pride in being able to employ people and to pay them a fair rate for the work that they do, because it's very hard work. And it requires daily dedication, because we don't let our animals go without being cared for. If someone doesn't make a shift or someone else can't cover, the buck stops with me and I go cover it. So we always have to have the animals taken care of. So we're just asking our community for help and support. We don't want to close. We're also looking at ways to maybe downgrade. And we've sat and met with, on Zoom, some of the biggest in the nation to get their advice. Best Friends Animal Society, Albuquerque Animal Humane sat down with us. You know, we just need to work more on growing our board and growing donor development. It's hard when you have one person wearing 3 or 4 hats trying to do everything. So just know that we're working to stay here and to still support the ASCMV and our animals, because we are committed to our animals for a lifetime. We sometimes pay vet bills for a lifetime for certain animals that their vet care is so high cost that no one's going to adopt them and commit to taking care of that. We call it the conditions that they already come in with us, the pre-existing conditions is what we call it. We'll sometimes support adopters for the lifetime of the animal with pre-existing conditions, and we take our animals back even 10 years later. You know, we always take them back. So we're trying our hardest to remain here and keep doing the work that we're doing. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you so much for being here this morning,
Yes,
but a
ma'am.
much, obviously, more global thank you for all you do. I'm going to turn first to Councillor Corin, just because I know she has some APA alumni she wants to talk about.
I do. So, thank you for being here, Michelle. And as I started fostering with Michelle back in the day, I started with one ringworm cat who had a litter, and I still have her. Her name is Ginger. All of her babies were adopted out, sulfurous as they were for quite a while. This was in 2012, and then I started. So I foster failed with Ginger, and then I also fostered a dog named Charlie, who is still with me. So I was batting literally 0 when I started fostering. Like, I was the worst. It was going to go. I think Michelle could already see it was going to go downhill. I was going to have 40 animals, but working with APA really helped me understand the economies of fostering and volunteering and working with folks in animal rescue. So I of course have APA in my heart always when I'm thinking about what we're doing here on the Animal Services Board. But I also just want to sort of talk about Michelle in particular, who I think has whose philosophy has really shaped how the Animal Services Center works as well, in terms of how we look at dogs, I think things like play groups might have started with you all, being sort of not breed specific. APA has always been at the very front of what the best evidence-based animal rescue practices are in our community, and we are extremely lucky to have you as a resource and have APA as a resource. So I just want to thank you for always keeping it real, and of course for all the animals that you've saved, and for what you do in the community. And I urge my colleagues to donate heartily to APA as much as you can. So
Thank you,
thank you,
Becky.
Michelle.
Thank you. Board Member Gates?
I just want to thank you and your organization for all the work that you do, all the programs you've created in our community. I mean, I think the fact that you do have paid employees is why your organization has been able to do the work that it has done in our community. I mean, paid employees are reliable. They're not just going to one day, decide I can't volunteer anymore. I have too many other things going on. So I think there's, a lot of benefit to that. Maybe I'm biased because I also work for a nonprofit, but I just want to say that, I appreciate the work. I've lived in Las Cruces since 2020, and even just seeing from then till now how much organization has grown and how much they've done for the community, how much they've done for the dogs at ASCMV, cats as well, obviously. It's incredibly appreciated. So hopefully you can keep up the work that you're doing and continue to do amazing things for our community.
Thank you. And that's one thing to note is that most human welfare nonprofits have employees, and they also most of them get some kind of federal or state or funding, and animal welfare groups don't. So we have no resources for any type of government funding whatsoever. We have to raise every dollar. Yeah.
Anyone else? Yes, Board Member Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very intrigued about your inmate program. As a previous the puppy trainer for guide dogs for the blind. Is that socialization only? Or are we doing service animals? Are we doing any type of, what kind of training or what are we doing with the inmates?
So the dogs, once they're assessed for the PAWS program, they have to have pretty good temperaments to go out there. You're not going to send dogs that are going to be aggressive to people or other dogs out there. But once they pass that assessment to go to PAWS, they go to PAWS for about 2 months. There's 8 handlers out there, 8 dogs at a time. And what they teach is basic obedience, basic manners, and also crate training, house training. They go through that, just kind of basic we're training them to be good family members. So they learn mostly the basic obedience and also socialization. And then when they come back to our building, we have the trainers keeping that up. We do doggy play groups. That helps keep them very social and highly adoptable. And most people who have adopted our PAWS dogs are really happy with them.
And then just real quick, Madam Chairman, a shout out to the thrift store. I'm a regular shopper there. I really like it. Nice job.
Thank you. And another thing I forgot to mention is our ringworm. We tried a bottle baby ward, that didn't work. Our ringworm ward. So we're one of the few who pulls and treats the ringworm kittens. And I know they're not able to do that at the shelter, so we take in as many as possible a year. We give them tender, loving care, and they have a nice catio and an area to play and be kittens in while they're getting over that treatable fungus. So it takes time. We bathe them 3 times a week. We give them oral and topical medications. It just takes time to clear. But we're very, very dedicated to that as well.
Thank you for that, too. I know that's a huge gap, and I believe, Councilor Corrin, you were recently fostering a ringworm kitten, right? And how did that go?
We've all recovered.
Kitten's still there, foster fail, 3 for 3, just an unofficial foster fail. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for having me.
everything you do and for being here this morning.
Yes, thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, next up, city and county ACO reports.
Good morning, Chair and board members. My name is Brian Halsey. I'm here to report the county January through March numbers. For the 3 months, we had 910 reported stray animals. Out of those, we were able to pick up 526 stray animals. There were 78 stray cats and 448 stray dogs. We ended up picking up 29 sick and injured animals, 13 were cats and 16 were dogs, and we had 61 owner surrenders, and they were all dogs. This is our reported stray animal calls for the 4 years, so you see that we were a little bit higher for the month of March. We had a little bit of a dip in February. Our highest number was in January. This is our 4-year field return to owner. For the month of January, we had 22. For February, we had 19. And for March, we had 16. And the additional animals that we picked up, we didn't pick up any owner-surrendered cats. We had 61 owner-surrendered dogs, 29 sick and injured animals. We had 30 welfare hold animals. That was a lot higher than what we normally get. We had a lot of agencies that were picking up people. I think Border Patrol was the big one that had a lot of animals in their cars or vehicles. And so we ended up picking up a lot for welfare holds. We had no cruelty cases. We had 12 shelter quarantines. We had 7 home quarantines. We did not have any court hold quarantine cases. We currently have 4 animals being held at our live evidence facility. Some are awaiting cases and some we're trying to get out of there. We had 1 rabies submission, which was negative. We had 63 diverted intakes, so there was an extra 63 animals that didn't go to the ASCMV. We had, for our education, we had 945 educational, and our total calls for the 3 months was 2,071. This is broken down in each district that we had of what we brought. So for District 1, we only had 32 dogs. In District 2, we had 17 cats and 56 dogs. In District 3, we had 21 cats and 90 dogs. It seems like every year when it starts to get a little bit hotter, it seems like District 3 tends to turn up a little bit more and then it goes back down when it gets colder. Don't know why that's the trend, but it's the trend I keep seeing. District 4, we had 20 cats and 92 dogs. That one still remains our big area for animals. District 5, we had 12 cats and 75 dogs. And District 6, we had 1 cat and 15 dogs. And District 7, we had 7 cats and 88 dogs. And this is just our comparison for the 3 months for the cats that were picked up. And this is our comparison for the dogs. And now our big one is the reason for the owner surrenders. We had 11 that were vicious and or dangerous. We had 11 that were aggressive. We had 5 that the owners just weren't able to keep on the property and they didn't want to get citations. We had 9 that they just weren't able to afford. We had 6 that were either injured or sick. We had 1 that they were having behavior issues with the dog and they couldn't keep it. We had 12 that they were unable to care for. We had 2 that the ASCMV turned away, the owners, so we owner surrendered it for them. We had 1 that the landlord would not allow. We had 1 that was moving and they couldn't take the dog. And then we had 1 that they were unable to control. They said it had too much energy for them. And 1, the owner passed away. And for that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you so much. Questions? Yes, please.
Can you expand about the surrender of the animals from the other agencies that you were talking about? I mean, are we seeing, from the Border Patrol, a massive influx of animals from that?
Well, it's not just Border Patrol. That would seem to be our big one this time. Usually it's like state police or NMSU that'll pull someone over and they're detaining them for whatever reasons. And they call us out because they have animals, and we go and take them for a welfare hold. So it's multiple agencies. It just seemed like for this 3 months, it was Border Patrol that I think one of them had multiple animals in it, and so that made the higher thing. But it's usually a multitude of agencies in a mix. Just seemed like this one was a lot of Border Patrol for some reason.
Thank you. And building on that question, I recently noticed just while driving through Mesilla, it looks like Mesilla has an animal control
Yes.
vehicle now? Okay, so is that another feeder into county ASCMV, or what's happening with that?
So-
Not to make you answer for the town, but if
No,
you
no, it's
know,
fine.
cool.
So we do have an MOU with them, but they usually have at least one officer with them, and we don't seems like lately we haven't had to go into Mesilla for, I would say probably like 5 or 6 months. So it's been a while. And we usually end up helping them out, and we'll partner with them if we need to, for warrants, for pickups, for whatever, so.
Okay, so more of an as-needed
Yeah.
relationship. Great, thank you so much. Oh, sorry, yes. Ex
Thank you.
officio Board Member Ward.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify a little bit more, Doñana County does have MOUs with several different incorporated areas like Mesilla, Sunland Park, Hatch, White Sands, and what other areas?
Sunland Park.
Yeah, Sunland Park. So those areas, they would go in, and NMSU. So those areas, the officers would go in as requested by that agency and either go in and take care of animal control issues or go in and just assist. So you might see some of those animals coming in and those numbers being up from those different agencies on that. And then just to add on those other numbers from Border Patrol, sometimes that would be like maybe Border Patrol or State Police or somebody pulling someone over and arresting someone, and they might have an animal in a vehicle, and then they have nowhere to take that animal, so they're gonna call out animal control to come in and assist and hold the animal until so they can arrest that person.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the background info. Yeah, I just noticed the vehicle out of nowhere. I think I'm just probably remarkably unperceptive. I was like, hey, that's new, but it's not.
And just as one more clarification, with that, I know one of our owner surrenders was from White Sands Missile Range. So it was I believe that was the only one we had out of our MOUs.
Great, thank you so much. And also thank you for the hard eye contact, since I'm not used to looking down to see if somebody has and you're like, so I appreciate that. And anyone who is pushing their button and I'm not noticing, just yell at me. Thanks. All right. City?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Gino Jimenez. I will present to you the quarterly report for January through March. I'm going to fast forward. As you can see, I included my typical report, which has a monthly breakdown. If there's no objections, I'll move into March, which will give us the totals. So as you can see here, this is the running total for January through March 2025. January, we responded to 458 stray calls. In February, we responded to 437, and in March, 440, giving us a total of 1,000. Let me load this up a little bit. I can't read it. 1,335. Just a second. Thanks. So again, here is our 3-year comparison. For January, we field RTO'd 39 animals, in February 57, and in March 48, bringing us to a total of 144 for the year. Our peak performance measures, this is for March, but it gives us a running total. One of the goals is 10% reduction in stray animal bites. We had 53 running total for 2025 and 20 for 2024, giving us an increase of 62% of stray animal bites. Measure number 4 is a 10% reduction in owner-victim bites. 2025, we had 37. In 24, we had 25, giving us a total of a 32% increase in owner-victim bites. Here is a graph for our community cat program. So in January, we responded to 72 cats in traps. In January, I'm sorry. In February, 89, and in March, 78, giving us a total of 239 cat and trap calls. However, our release rate in January, we released 15, February 21, and in March 17, which means that we released 53 community cats. So those are cats that never went to the Animal Service Center. Reasons we were unable to field RTO, 32 were for dogs with no contact by phone or at the residence. One was an Arizona address and the other was a Doñana County address. 7 dogs, the chip was not registered. 7 dogs, the chip was not updated. 2 dogs, the owners were out of town, couldn't reclaim their animal or had to reclaim them from the Animal Service Center. 1 dog, the 24-hour pet watch could not give the ACO the information of who owned the dog. 1 cat, the chip was not registered. And 1 cat, no contact by phone or at the resident. And finally, 1 dog, the owner was in the hospital. The brother was the emergency contact, however, he refused to pick up that animal. Here is our reasons for owner releasing animals. 16 dogs the owner was unable to care for. 15 dogs, behavioral issues. 4 dogs for lifestyle changes. 4 dogs the landlord wouldn't allow to keep at their property. 3 dogs they keep escaping. 3 dogs they were moving, and according to one of the residents, a rescue refused to take it in. 2 dogs they could no longer afford. 2 dogs for aggression. 2 dogs, the owners were leaving the country. The owner was leaving the country. 2 cats, the landlord did not allow at their property. 1 cat was not compatible with the other pets. It was aggressive towards the smaller dogs. 1 dog, old age euthanasia. 1 cat, old age euthanasia request. 1 cat for behavioral issues. 1 cat, the owner could not afford vet care. 1 dog, resource guarding. 1 dog for health issues, and 1 dog, the owner had a high-risk pregnancy, and the dog put her in jeopardy. So our total calls for service in January, we responded to 1,124 calls. February, 1,157 calls, and in March, 1,155, giving us a year-to-date total of 3,436. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, good, now, gotcha.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Gino, with respect to the statistics related to owner-victim bites going in the wrong direction from what we'd like to see, is there anything that you could share with us to help explain that trend, or maybe our approach to working in the statistic in the right direction?
Yes, ma'am. Board member, that one is really hard for us to explain because we have no control over that situation. You know, for our stray animal bites, what we can do is go out in an area where we have a lot of calls that are coming in, and we can focus the officers in there to address the stray bites. So therefore, we reduce the possibility of bites. However, with an owner-victim bite, this is an animal that is in the household that for some reason bites. I mean, it could be resource guarding, it could be aggression, it could be food, it could be toys, it could be anything, or just the animal was in a bad mood. So to reduce that number is going to be very, very difficult for us. We really don't have that much of an influence in those situations. The only remedy that I can think of right now is education. Educate. And that's why the majority of those bites, owner-victim bites, are children. So that's where we focus in our school presentations, is for children to be responsible pet owners, know when their pet is going to do this, know when their pet may be in this kind of situation, so that the child can recognize it and possibly reduce that number.
Thank you so much, Gino. That really helps to explain both the situations and the responses that we could have. And I was thinking about education, maybe referrals to training, or I don't know if that might be something that we could do as well.
Absolutely, I agree.
Okay. Thank you, Gino.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up are shelter statistics and activities. Morning, Liz.
Good morning. So I'll be presenting the ASCMV first quarter statistics. So the current animal count, I believe this was as of yesterday, we currently have 277 dogs and 24 cats. And then the first quarter intake total, we got 2,150 animals, 1,598 were dogs, and 538 were cats. And you can just see the comparison for the past 2 years there. So the intake methods are how they came into the shelter. If you scroll down to strays by ACO, that's going to be the #1 way they came in at 53.9%. And then if you go back up to the owner surrenders, that's the second highest reason, 18.6%. So in the first 3 months of this year, we already got 401 animals owner surrendered. Just below that is going to be strays brought in by the public. We had 395 of those, and those are really our top biggest ways of intake. The rest there are pretty low. This is our year-to-date information. So since it's the first quarter, it's going to be the same as our total intake right now. It's going to sit at 2,150. And next quarter, you can kind of compare the year-to-date for the last 2 years. So our returns, after somebody adopts an animal, they have 3 weeks in order to return that animal for whatever reason. After the 3-week period, they can still return the animal, but at that point, it's considered an owner surrender. So in the first quarter, we had 18 dogs and 1 cat that were returned. The main reason for return for the dogs is behavior problems. So that could be anything like jumping, escaping, destructive behavior, or maybe they just didn't like a family member. So they can always return the animal. We don't hold it against them. We know things happen, and they can adopt another animal that maybe fits their lifestyle better. So our first quarter outcomes, adoptions, we did 418. Reclaims, we did 308. Rescued animals, we did 527. Community cats, 282 were released back into the community after being spayed and neutered, of course. Euthanasia, 653. So this number does include owner-requested euthanasias, so we did 158 of those. However, that's not included in our live release rate. So excluding the owner requested euthanasias, our live release rate is 75.7, which is up a little bit from this time last year. Our transfers, these are going to be all of the rescues that we worked with in the first 3 months of this year. One of the biggest ones on there is Rebel Angel All Breed Rescue. So for those that don't know, that's a local rescue. They really specialize in transport and relocation. So they took 132 dogs. A lot of those ended up being transported to other rescues out of state. Cruise Crusaders and Halo Animal Rescue, those are our Arizona partners. And Nick of Time and Front Range Freedom, those are some of our Colorado rescues. Since we're starting to see a lot more kittens, I'm pretty sure we'll be doing a lot more transports into Colorado because they do specialize in taking cats and kittens. And then a lot of our local rescues continue to help us, action programs for animals. Like Michelle mentioned, they took in 14 dogs, and a lot of those dogs are going to be harder to adopt, pity breeds, that they spend a lot of time working with to make them adoptable. Animal Spaces Rescue, Animal Rescue League of El Paso, and a few other rescues on here are some of our local ones. Shedding El Paso Rescue Dogs, that's one that's located in El Paso. They really specialize in the German Shepherd and Malinois type breeds, so they're really experienced in finding those dogs the correct home. And they took in 20 dogs from us the first quarter. So thank you to all of our rescue partners for continuing to help. So our euthanasia, we actually ended up doing 495. So that's not counting the owner surrenders or the owner requested euthanasias. The number one reason is space behavior for dogs. So this is where they have a behavior that could be worked with if there was space. If the shelter didn't have a revolving door and we had all this time and space to work with them, we absolutely believe that they could be adoptable, but space was the issue ultimately that they had to be euthanized. And the second biggest reason is behavior aggressive towards other dogs. So we have to be able to co-house dogs at the shelter in order to save as many as we can. There may be some times where we can have a dog that's in a single kennel, but not for very long. If we get a huge amount of intake that day, sometimes the dog that's not dog friendly is chosen for euthanasia because we need to make space and use that kennel to house multiple dogs. So our surgeries, for the first 3 months, we did 1,069. 170 were shelter foster surgeries, so these are going to be our in-house, what we call in-house surgeries. 250 were adoptions, and 442 were TNR cats. The 207 other, that's going to be our low-income public spay neuters and also some of our rescue spay neuters. Our volunteers continue to do well and do good work, especially with our play groups at the shelter. We are in the process of hiring a new volunteer coordinator, so they should be starting within the next 2 weeks. And we're excited to see what kind of fresh ideas she brings to the program. But we still get new volunteers every month. You can see in January we got 22 new volunteers. In February, there was 18, and in March, there was 16. So there was over 2,300 hours put in the first quarter for volunteer work. So we thank our volunteers for coming to help enrich the pets at the shelter. Our foster program, in January, we had 105 animals in foster. In February, there was 112, and in March, there was 96. As I mentioned, since we are getting into kitten season, we'll probably start seeing a lot more people signing up to be fosters. We're already starting to see neonates and bottle babies come in. So that's normally where we see our foster numbers increase. And our foster coordinator does such a great job. She did hold a kitten shower, I believe last weekend. So it kind of teaches people how to bottle feed babies if you're new, but they do require so much work. So we really, really love our our fosters that take in the bottle babies. Year-to-date visitors. So we actually had 5,810. This is up from last year by about 1,400. If you look down at the months of January, February, and March, you'll see each month we had an increased number of visitors to the shelter. Our marketing report, so the Facebook ads, an impression is going to be every time that one of our ads shows up on somebody's screen if they're scrolling, and a reach is going to be any time a unique user viewed that ad at least once. So the reach is always going to be lower because the same user can view multiple ads of ours as they're scrolling. So each one of those is an impression, but the reach is the important one because that's how many users we're reaching, how many new users that we're reaching. Clicks to our website, that number is going to be clicks to our website from our Facebook ads. And then our social media reach, On Facebook, that's going to be the overall reach, not just the Facebook ads. So we had 375,000 on there, and over 22,000 Instagram. Total website views, 97,000 with 17,000 new users. So we still continue to do well on our marketing. Our April events coming up. So this Saturday, we're going to be at Cisparo at their Spring Fest over off of Valley. And then on Sunday, we're actually having a adoption event at the shelter called Bark and Bloom. So we'll have a food vendor there with door prizes and lots of animals up for adoption. So that's from 11 to 1 on Sunday at the shelter. And here are some of our May events. So PetSmart, Petco, Roundhouse Reserve, I believe that's off Solano, and Farmers Market. Those are all going to be in May, and actually every Friday in May we're going to be at PetSmart. So we're trying to increase our adoptions and get our animals out into the community as much as possible. And our Dog of the Week, Erin, was actually already adopted, so they renamed her Shadow. And our Cat of the Week, Goblin, was actually already adopted as well. Probably because of that photo. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you so much. And I know this is being a Gen Xer, but of course, as soon as I saw that photo, I thought the George Costanza and then Seinfeld, like where he did that pose on the cat. Thank you. A couple people in my age group are nodding and laughing. Yes, Board Member Gates, or sorry, Board Member Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two questions. One on the 401 people who returned their animals. How many of those actually gave it another try and adopted another animal?
Sorry, let me go back to the returns. So we only had 19 returns.
Oh, wait, where did I get? I was thinking of something else. But anyway, how many go on to adopt something else?
I'm not sure. I could probably get those numbers for you. The reason that we have the return policy is just if it's not working out, they have that option to come and adopt another
Sure.
animal.
Sure.
But I'm not sure how many actually adopted
Okay.
another animal. I'm assuming the ones that the landlord doesn't allow probably didn't.
Yeah.
Some people, lifestyle changes, that could be like they're moving and they didn't know. So I imagine some of those probably didn't adopt a dog as well, didn't
Okay.
adopt another dog as well.
And my second question, when you talked about the traffic to the center, is that just physically those who came to the center, or does that include your mobile adoption events?
It includes, it's the visitors to the center.
Okay, thank you.
Now Board Member Gates.
I don't know how relevant this is, but I'm curious if you, even if it's just like in your head, it's not necessarily the actual numbers, but generally, like, what are the outcomes for the returned animals?
It just depends. I mean, we don't hold it against the animal because a lot of these behaviors, especially like the escaping and destruction, they're things that we don't know about the animal previously. You know, we don't see that behavior at the shelter, but it really helps us put that in their notes. That way, if they get adopted again, we can say, hey, they're a jumper or they're a digger. So, yeah, if anything, it really just helps us learn more about them. Kind of like a foster. You know, they go out for a little while, they come back, and we have a lot more information that could set them up for success later on.
Great.
Okay, if no one else, two from me. So we had awesome volunteer numbers in February, and I think it said guest volunteers, 50-some guest volunteers. Yes. What was the source of our guest volunteers?
I believe those numbers are going to be if somebody brings someone with them. So, you know, a lot of the adults with disabilities come in and they do socializing with cats and things like that. So I believe the guests are going to be if someone comes with the registered volunteer.
That's huge, and an enormous jump in the total volunteer hours too, so that's really cool. Yeah, bring a friend. And then my other question, I should have asked this question first so we could end on a happier note. I see the parvo numbers are still pretty troubling, and I was wondering, I know that can be if unintentionally a foster person gets a parvo animal, that kind of wipes them off from fostering for a pretty significant amount of time. And I know we had struggled with that. A friend of mine was in that situation who was a serial dog fosterer, ended up with unintentionally with a parvo puppy, and it's a pretty long time period. But I was wondering if we're still struggling with that in our foster program.
I don't know of any that have been in foster, any of these parvo cases. I believe they've all been at the shelter, but it doesn't really exclude them from the program if they want to foster adults. If anything, it would just exclude them from fostering puppies.
No, that makes sense. She was a serial foster puppier. And this was a few years ago, but I'm glad, obviously, you're never glad to see parvo, but, glad that it's a little more contained, so.
Yeah.
Good. Anyone else come up with anything? All right. Thank you so much for everything you and your team does.
Thank you.
So we'll move to our committee reports, starting off with finance. Ms. Bencomo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go for it.
I just wanted to add one thing. With Doñana County on our ACEs program, when we're going out there and doing our vaccination, the microchips, Dr. McKenzie's also started adding the parvo and distemper vaccines to the dogs in the community and the cat vaccines. So we're trying to get that out in the community already, so we're not taking it, if the dogs get picked up, they're not getting exposed to parvo, or they're not getting parvo and it's not getting taken into the shelter as well. So we're trying to get it out in the field as well, so that should be a good thing going forward for that.
I appreciate that so much, and for ending it with a more positive spin. Board Member Gates, you better not be a bummer. Just kidding, go for it.
No, I think on that note, I just want to say this so that we remember it and it exists on the record, but I think we then also need to maybe break down the parvo cases at the shelter by the county versus the city, just to see whether their program is actually contributing, which I would presume it will, but I think that would be kind of cool to see if there is a change in what we're seeing now between those two places, and now that this has been included in the vaccines.
No, I love that. Thank you, and thank you for being a champion for data, as always. So, good. All right, back to Finance Committee report. Thank you, ex officio member Bencomo.
appreciate it, Madam Chair. So this quarter's Finance Committee meeting, I actually was unable to attend. However, our Assistant Director of Finance, Laura Higuin, was there and provided me with some notes from the meeting, which included an overview of the financial statements, and we'll be seeing those here shortly. A review of the budget resolution also that will be coming forward, and a discussion regarding the recruitment for the executive director, just the purchasing process for that. And so without further ado, what I'd like to do is introduce Ms. Amy Trant to come forward and share with us an overview of the quarterly financials for the Animal Service Center.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board, ladies and gentlemen of the audience. My name is Amy Trant. I'm the management analyst for the animal shelter, and I'll be giving you the financial briefing this morning. Right now we have to date total assets of $1,392,260. Our total liabilities, $204,114, with a fund balance of $1,188,146. So that gives us total liabilities and a fund balance of $1,392,260. For our total revenues, we are sitting at an actual of $3,752,448, which is 76.1%, We also have total expenditures of $3,407,47, which gives us a total expenditures of 69.1%. So we are well above the budget parameter of 75% for our total revenues, and also below for our expenditures. Net change position, $345,401, with our starting fund balance of $551,735 gives us a net position of $897,137. Moving on to the Executive Director Fund, we have two that are a little high. The services are at 90.8%. This is because our exiting director had gone through and did a lot of the membership renewals, so that we wouldn't have to worry about that for the rest of the year. So we are taking care of for that. That included the National Animal Control Board and also Society for Animal Welfare, so we're good to go for the rest of the year for them. The other one is travel. This fund is close, but we have no additional travel expected for this fund for the rest of the year, and if so, then we can always make a transfer of funds if need be. Moving on to the actuals for the medical director. Total expenditures at 60.1%, so you can see that budget is doing very well. It's well below the 75% budget parameter for this time of year. The $105,000 for Community Cats program now has been assigned project codes, so that has been split up. So those funds will be taken out of where they need to go for classified and for services and for supplies. This fund also just received or is in the process after you approve it, a $50,000 grant, and that's to help the medical facility change from the cat room over to the surgical facility. So more funds will be falling into the services and the supplies for this medical director fund. For the kennel director, they are at 74.8%. That is close, but it is still below the budget parameter. Since we're getting closer to the end of the year, we will be doing a lot more polls from Eunice and taking some very close looks, especially at salary and for benefits. This budget, or this fund, also is seeing $25,000 grant increase, so that's going to be for transportation, and that's going to help with the transport and rescue efforts. And bars have been completed for those as well. Moving on to the administrative operations. This is total expenditures at 71.9%. Again, it is below the budget parameter of 75%, and it is doing well. For the total expenses year to date, $3,407,047. This is the percentages broken out of what was spent. So most was spent on salary and benefits. Services were 12%, supplies, and then our little group of other, which covers transport, travel, insurance, and maintenance and repairs. Any questions from the board today?
Questions? Looks like no. Thank you so much. And Amy, you just have an NPR voice. I love it. I'm like, you could soothe me into anything. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the executive committee is primarily me learning what it means to be the chair of this board with a lot of help. Bernice, thank you. We were primarily discussing, as I already alluded to, the hiring process for the soon-to-be new executive director. Board Member Gates, I think we can leave that. You have 100% been leading the charge on that. And I guess we can leave that to board comments if you'll chime in on that at that time. Well, actually, we'll just go ahead and chime in now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty quick summary. We've selected a search firm, so we are just waiting for all of that to go through with the city, and then we can really get moving and get somebody in there and hopefully do as awesome of things as our interim director has done. So I think that's it for updates on that.
Okay, great. Yeah, and moving along nicely. Again, appreciation to Bernice. Thanks for keeping us up to date on everything. And yeah, it's primarily just me fumbling my way through being the chair. Finally, facilities. Thank you, Liz.
Hi, Board Member Ward. I thought you were not going to be here today, so I put myself on to give the update if you're okay with that. The Facilities Committee met on April 3rd. In attendance was Board Member Ward, Board Member Campbell, and myself. And I believe Board Member Gates was not able to attend at that one. Some ongoing projects and issues that we discussed were some cracks in the cement in our social areas that were covered under warranty. So repairs for those should be starting soon. We did have some issues that have been reported to facilities that are still waiting to be repaired, which is our main flagpole in front of our adoption building is still broken, and 2 of our doors on the one door on the east side and 1 door on the west side of the adoption building are not working properly. So facilities is aware of those and they plan to fix them. We are also in the process of rekeying a lot of doors in our adoption building. So we did have a locksmith come out, and the main purpose of this is to get all of the locks to be the same. There's quite a variety in the adoption building, and for security purposes, we want them to all be on the same key so the appropriate supervisor has access. We are also in the process of demolishing 2 sheds behind the medical facility with hopes to replace those with a shipping container for storage. And then lastly, we did discuss, I shared with the committee the renovations that were drawn up for the medical building. There was a feasibility study done in 2022 to convert the medical building into just renovations for it to be a more functioning medical center. Back then, I believe the plans were to use the fund balance for that, but I did let the committee know that the fund balance is now being used towards the budget, so our new director might have to come up with new ideas for funding for that. However, we did get the $50,000 Petco grant to start the step 1 of the process, which is to move our surgical area into what we're calling a surgery suite, which is our old cat room at the front of the building. So that was all that was discussed, and our next meeting is scheduled for May 1st.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on to section 6, we have a couple of quick discussion items. And these are just true discussion items. I don't think we have any presentations planned. Just a way to get daylight on a couple of topics that will probably be coming up in a more formal sense in the future. The first is a discussion on updating the ASCMV board bylaws and formation of a bylaw update subcommittee. It's a big day for Board Member Gates. Calling on you again, because you were the one who very wisely brought this idea to the table, so I'll turn it over.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, as the board, we're responsible for updating the bylaws, I believe, per the JPA. They have not been updated since 2013, I believe. So obviously, there have been some changes, mostly actually the changes being within recent years, to be completely fair, which is having community members on the board and then quarterly meetings instead of monthly. So those are kind of the main things in the bylaws, which is essentially they're written for council members on the board versus having community members on the board. So more so just like pretty standard changes, if you will. There might be some other elements like conflict of interest type things to update, but I think for the most part that was the most glaring issues with the current bylaws. But just want to start get things moving on those so we can have our operating bylaws up to date.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. Ideas, I'm taking it you're volunteering as tribute on this, clearly, to lead this.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely already have looked them over far too many times. So I'm definitely willing to, if we're going to do some sort of committee or whatever we choose in order to get them updated. But I'm interested, yes.
Great. Board Member Campbell?
I'd be interested in serving on that subcommittee with Jennifer.
Fantastic, thank you. Are you thinking 3 or?
Well, now we could do 4, right?
True.
So.
Okay, but again, good. We can throw an action item on the next meeting and force or volunteer other people, or if anyone else is interested. I think both Councilor Corn and I have some bylaw change in experience, so I'm sure one of us would be happy to go through that too. So, okay, great. Yeah, appreciate that, and let's bring us up into the 2020s on our bylaws. Thank you. Our other discussion item is discussion of the current ASCMV emergency plan for continuity of operations. Please, Liz, come on up. And ex officio board member Bencomo, I know you've also had some experience with this, so I'd love to have you chime in.
Sorry, so just to chime in here. So we are in the process of completing the ASCMV emergency plan. So this covers, this is actually part of a bigger plan with the Office of Emergency Management. It's going to be incorporated in their all hazards emergency operation plan. So it really deals with countywide emergency responses, natural disasters, and things like that. Our previous director, Clint, had started it before he left, and we have plans to finish it coming soon, and we'll be submitting that as well. So that's really to cover like the natural disaster aspect of things. And then as far as like, in-house, I know that recently our medical director experienced a medical emergency and had to be out for some time, but we were able to find coverage for surgeries by using some of our contract vets, and all in all, we only missed 1 surgery day. So we did reschedule a lot of surgeries, but we still continue to do TNR surgeries and things like that. So we kind of have a idea on, especially, once we get a second vet on board, we're pretty capable of filling those gaps when needed. So I just wanted to put that out there.
No, I really appreciate that. Ex officio board member Bencomo?
Yes, thank you. That was an excellent summary of the effort so far, and we're very grateful for the guidance of OEM to help draft the plan and make sure that we have the right elements included in that. One key area to contemplate, and I know that our facilities team has already been looking at this, is the emergency generator situation for the facility. Scoping that out, understanding what would be needed, and then looking for the funding for that. So I know that's already underway as well.
Yes. Okay, great. And I know, Doc, we're so happy you're back and being really stubborn, so we make sure that Liz also keeps an eye on you. But we had discussed, and I think we also, our county veterinarian is in here. Hi, yes. We had talked about, I don't know if that is something for which there would be capacity if there was an in-house emergency at ASCMV. We had talked about, I don't know if we would need an MOU for that. I'm throwing this out to the ethers if anyone has an answer. But for that kind of if no one knows, we should definitely find out if that's a possibility too in an emergency for coverage on the vet surgical side. So if we can look into that, it'd be great just to have some clarity on that. I mean, county obviously has an equal stake in ASCMV as city, but that would definitely be good to throw out there. But other discussion, again, clearly just kind of setting the stage that we will have a presentation sometime in the near future. Obviously, we want to get our new executive director on board and have their input as well, but any other, yes, please.
Just going on that, I think an MOU, having an MOU in place is something that we would need to look at moving forward to make sure that we are not violating any licenses and requirements of the veterinarians to make sure that, they are covered, covering surgeries in different facilities and whatnot, and that type of thing. And then also their work duties in their contracts, working for their agencies, their appropriate agencies, and we're not violating anything like that.
Okay, great, thank you so much. That's exactly the kind of input and guidance that we're looking for. And yeah, I want to shout out, I know it was a, scrambling time at ASCMV. There were a lot of rumors going around and different perceptions or different narratives on what was happening or was not happening. And I appreciate you saying it was really, we missed one surgery day and things got covered. So I really appreciate, I know what that took, so very much wanted to shout that out. Anything else? Okay, great. All right, on to action items. First up, 7.1, a resolution allowing for a carryover of remaining grant funds from FY 2024 in the amount of $2,400 from the HSUS grant and to adjust the adopted 2025 budget.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Okay, moved by Councillor Corrin, seconded by Board Member Peck.
Hi, so this resolution was just to correct a clerical error. So the ASCMV was awarded a $2,400 grant in 2023, and due to that clerical error, the funds weren't expensed in FY 23 or 24. So this resolution would be moving them over to FY 25 so we can finally get them expensed. And the funds were to attend a conference that some of our employees went to.
Okay, great, thank you. Questions? We're good? All right, call for a vote then. Board Member Campbell?
Yes.
Board Member Gates?
Yes.
Board Member Guley?
Yes.
Board Member Peck?
Yes.
Councillor Corrin?
Yes.
And I, Chair Graham, vote yes. Next up, 7.2, a resolution to amend the recommended FY 2026 annual budget for the ASCMV per Exhibit A.
Move to approve.
Second, Corin.
Okay, moved by Board Member Campbell, seconded by Councillor Corrin.
This resolution is just to adjust the FY 26 budget in order to use the fund balance to cover the gap from the city and county contributions in the amount of $405,675.
Okay, thank you. Questions? All right, move to vote. Board Member Campbell?
Yes.
Board Member Gates?
Yes.
Board Member Guley?
Yes.
Board Member Peck?
Yes.
Councillor Corrin?
Yes.
And I, Chair Graham, vote yes. Next up, there we go. 7.3, a resolution to accept the $25,000 PetSmart Charities Transport Grant and adjust the adopted FY 2025 budget, allowing the grant.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Corn, seconded by Board Member Peck.
So, yeah, this is the $25,000 PetSmart grant that we would be putting towards the, our transport efforts and our transport program in order to transport more animals further, to partner up with more rescues, possibly on the East Coast.
Great. Questions? Just a quick one. So currently, I know Colorado is a big one, right, where we currently send?
Yes, so Colorado is a big one, but they their rescues are governed by an agency called PACFA, so that oversees all of the rescue and animal organizations in Colorado. This year, they will be passing a new law starting in July to where all animals entering Colorado need to have a rabies vaccine. So that would exclude any animals under 3 months. So the nursing kittens, nursing puppies, things like that will no longer be able to be transported into Colorado. So given that, we may have to go further to find other rescues for them.
Got you. Interesting. Thank you. And if nothing else, I'll call for a vote. Board Member Campbell?
Yes.
Board Member Gates?
Yes.
Board Member Guley?
Yes.
Board Member Peck?
Yes.
Counselor Corn?
Yes.
And I, Chair Graham, vote yes. And finally, 7.4, a resolution to accept the $50,000 Petco Medical Facility Grant and adjust the adopted FY 2025 budget allowing the grant.
Move to approve.
Second.
I know a little switch up, moved by Board Member Peck and seconded by Counselor Corn.
The $50,000 Petco grant, that would be used to start step one in our medical renovation. So a lot of it is going to be used for equipment, things that are needed in order for our surgical area to move to our old cat room in the front of the medical building. So much of the $50,000 would be used to purchase equipment for that move.
Yes, please.
I just have a quick question. This is, exciting and I feel like a new phase, but I also understand how money works a lot better as a city councilor, and I know that $50,000 is like nothing in the scheme of how much this renovation will actually take. And I know that that's been sort of discussed, but could you just give us sort of a rough estimate the last time we talked about this? To just give us context for, I don't want folks to think like, oh, we got this grant, it's going to be done. That's not how any of these things work, it turns out.
So the feasibility study calculated, and again, this was in 2022, so I imagine it's much higher, $7.6 million for the complete renovation of the medical building. And it really is the complete renovation. There's some additions on there, so it really does have to be done in steps, and this is kind of our first step, number one on there.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that everyone had the fair context. Like, I feel like when we talk about buildings, nothing under $1 million is making any dent in anything in our world right now. So that sounds more like a better understanding. So this is really just an opening salvo in this venture. So thank you. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you for that perspective. Board Member Gates?
Just a quick question. The feasibility study, was that something that the board participated in, or was that an internal ASCMV study that was done? Just because I want access to it, which I can get to after.
And I can definitely send it to you. I'm not sure how much of the board participated in it, but I do know that Clint did give a presentation on the results of that included the blueprints and everything.
Okay.
So I can definitely share those with the board.
Perfect.
Any other questions? All right, let's vote. Board Member Campbell?
Yes.
Board Member Gates?
Yes.
Board Member Guley?
Yes.
Board Member Peck?
Yes.
Counselor Corn?
Yes.
And I, Chair Graham, vote yes. Okay, moving on. Public input? No? The sole member of the public is saying no. Okay, sounds good. So, board comments. do you have a non-Bernice board comment? Okay,
I
go
do.
for it.
I just want to, we have a new board member, Dr. Bueling. Welcome. And sorry, we just threw you into this. We just approved her at Monday's city council meeting, so we didn't really have a chance to get her fully onboarded before this meeting, but you've done a great job. So good job. We'll keep on helping and supporting you as you join the board. So welcome. I just want to thank you for volunteering and answering the call in this context. So we're really glad you're here. And again, we'll follow up and make sure that you don't feel totally thrown to the stray dogs in the next months and weeks. No pun intended. So that's. I just wanted to welcome you. Thank you for volunteering and being here. So that's all.
Yeah, I second that. Thank you so much. Board Member Gates?
I just want to say that I'm happy to hear that we have a new animal ordinance. So thank you for, whatever parts of it we may or may not agree with. I'm happy that that's been updated, and hopefully that will prove positive for the city and where we're going with our animals.
Yes, and again, many thanks to the community advocates who worked beyond tirelessly on this for years. Very much appreciated, as well as all of our city team. Appreciate you. We did it. Okay, so this is, I'm trying to say this without choky voice. This will be Bernice's last board meeting with us. Yes, I know, I'm sorry, but you are going to have to sit there and hear nice things about yourself. Well, I know we're happy, we're lucky to have her in her position a bit longer. Since we moved to a quarterly board meeting, we didn't want to let it slip by. So I open the floor go for it.
I'll also try not to get
I know, right?
teary. Bernice, you have kept the shelter really moving forward. You, through a number of really difficult times that I know you have a team and you have support folks there, but from our perspective, we look at these budgets, we see these financial reports, we hear facilities reports, and behind every one of those are 1,000 acts of paperwork and difficult things and negotiations and conversations and follow-up, and you have done an extraordinary job of doing that. I just can't say, teary. I can cut myself off shortly, but you have made an enormous difference in the lives of the animals at the shelter and the people at the shelter, and it has really meant a lot, and it has been seen by me as a person who cares about all of those things. Sorry, I'll stop.
Go for it.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, Bernice, congratulations.
Yes.
I have known of you, not necessarily known you, for over 15 years. Long time, since I was with the Solid Waste Authority. And the board needs to understand that Bernice set the standard for reporting and accounting for years and years and years, and she has gone through some tumultuous times. But from someone on the outside looking in, working with my staff, I pointed to you a lot of times as someone to look, for them to mimic. So, look what they're doing here. If you have questions, I don't know, I used to send staff to these meetings to see how they were run and everything else. But Bernice, your reputation and your professional reputation it's like I said, it's a gold standard. Congratulations on retirement. As someone who's just retired, I thoroughly am enjoying it. It's good on the other side, and I wish you well, and I thank you for all your years of service, and just for, you know what, it's going to be different. You don't have to get up at 5:30 every morning, and it's just 7 o'clock is a nice time to get out of bed, I can tell you. So anyway, congratulations.
Well, I just wanted to say, and I also want to, anyone who wants to approach from down here, I kind of just wanted to say, I was thinking, Michelle said from APA said it better than anyone earlier that there's kind of this idea that people who work in animal welfare or any kind of job that takes so much heart, sometimes they're like, oh, well, you should just do it for free. And I think you probably would have. Your servant's heart and the mixed with just absolute line level professionalism is special, and is going to be tremendously missed. I don't know what we will do without you. I know you are cross-training some folks right now, and I know they're fantastic, but will not be you. And again, I know you're like melting out there, like, please stop talking about me, but we just can't let it go without thanking you on the record from our hearts for all you do. Thank you. Are you going to come up and say something? Yes. Anyone? Yeah.
My name is Michelle Williams. I'm the front office supervisor at the ASCMV. I've been there almost 10 years. And Bernice, she has been nothing but kind, very knowledgeable, and I wouldn't be where I am today without her. She has taught me so much, and I hope I can learn in the few weeks we have left. But thank you, Bernice.
I'm Bernice. Thank you for all of your kind words. Just like in any position, any place that you're at, you have your positives and the negatives, ups and downs and things like that. Over the years, I've been with ASCMV since 2008, one of the old timers, so with a couple more there and stuff. I have seen so many changes go on at the shelter, from the old buildings to the new buildings, to change of directors, to change of board members, change of employees, everything. And I have seen so much grow there. I am so appreciative of all of the people that have helped me in my not so bright moments. It's been tremendous working with all the different people there, to see all of the growth that's going on. You can probably count on seeing me as a public member every once in a while, just to give a little bit different perspective, of what goes on in the shelter. I strongly encourage every one of the board members, please stop by, go see what's happening at the shelter. Just like we say, our social media, it can be amazing and it can be detrimental, so I would really like to invite everyone to show up, see what's going on, and to invite more people from the community. Please step up, join in. It can't be run by just a few people. This has to be a community effort. And so I just thank everybody, for all of the years of support, and I'm going to go do a lot of camping. But thank you everybody.
And we thank you if you'll join me. All right. If nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you, Board Member Campbell. A second?
Corin?
Thank you, Councilor Corin. So we are adjourned at 10:29 a.m. Thank you.